Hi guys, Craig here. Welcome to an edition of the podcast, Tell Craig Your Story. Today we'll be listening to Jack Steed. Now, Jack Steed, he won the scholarship from the Australian government, which has allowed him to travel all through Asia. We met in a bar in Shanghai, the famous Camel Bar, and he was telling me about all these amazing stories. Now, Jack is only 21 years old, and he's done so much. And he has the world at his oyster, and he has a great future ahead of him. All right, but before we go, please go to our Facebook page. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, and we have a link there that allows you to find out where Tell Craig Your Story podcast is streaming. All right, here we go. Jack Steed on Tell Craig Your Story. Hey Jack, how you doing? Thanks for your time today.
G'day Craig, yeah, really good. I've just got up here in Singapore, had a coffee and looking forward to speaking to you.
Thank you. That's great. Let's start it off straight away by telling everybody, how did we meet?
Yeah, it was very random, that's for sure. Two Australians meeting in China.
Yes, we met at the almost famous cultural Camel Bar in Shanghai.
Yeah, we sure did. That was my second home when I was in Shanghai because obviously the internet connection and so on wasn't the best, and I had to watch the NRL and all the sports. So if I wasn't studying or spending time with my host family, I was at the Camel watching sport or playing pool.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because a lot of the people there at that Camel Bar were watching the AFL, but I actually had somebody to sit next to watch the NRL, so it was actually good there. So, Jack, tell me about your story. I've done a bit of research on you, as I do with all my guests. So let me just go through a couple of things that I've done on my research. And you just tell me if it's yay or nay, true or false.
All right.
So, a graduate at Brisbane Waters Secondary College.
That's true.
And I do believe that you were in the 90 percentile for HSC.
Yeah, I studied a lot. I got a pretty strict mum, so I was studying hard during those final years.
All right. Oh, awesome. Congratulations. We'll get to your family a bit later on in the conversation. Colombo scholarship from the Australian government. That's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest achievements in my life. So that's actually why I'm here in Singapore, and while I was in China, I'm over here on a scholarship with the Australian government, and we'll talk about that later on. It's really interesting what the government's doing and how they're helping young people improve relationships within the Indo-Pacific and Asia-Pacific region.
That's amazing. That is something that should be pushed a lot more, in my opinion. You have a Bachelor's of Business and Commerce at the Newcastle University, Comon Nui. You also were at the Chinese Hong Kong University as well.
Yeah.
And you've also been a part of the Royal Ancient Golf Club. And in the future, you'll be going to the Tokyo Olympics in this year.
Unfortunately, that one's not true anymore. As you can tell, due to the coronavirus, there's been a lot of dramas and problems with travel and the amount of people they want in areas and so on. So unfortunately, that's a no-go anymore. But I'm going to keep practicing my Mandarin, and hopefully 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, I'll be able to work on that one.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about the coronavirus while we're here. Huge news, obviously worldwide, and I'm the same. I'm back in Newcastle now. My business has shut down in Shanghai for obvious reasons, and for me to come back to Australia, it was a little difficult, but I can understand where the government's coming from. So tell me what it's been like for you. Also in Asia as well with the coronavirus.
Well, to be honest, I think the coronavirus is following me. So
Really
I was really lucky. I actually left China the middle of December last year, and pretty much as soon as I got home, the whole thing went big sort of thing. And then I was in Australia. I went to Singapore. Now, I was actually staying at Sentosa Shangri-La Resort, which is where the first case occurred in Singapore. And I was getting a little bit worried, and then you get a cough, and I was like, oh no, this could be bad.
Yeah.
But got the all clear. It was just the flu. And then I've recently been really lucky to travel with the internship I'm doing. So I went to Thailand and Malaysia, and both times the golf tournament's been cancelled, and we've had to come home because of it. So it's there is positives though. Every flight I've had, I've got to lie down because there's no one on the plane, which is
Oh
cool.
yeah, right. Yes, I had the same opportunity as well, coming home as well. So, and what are the media saying over there? Are they just saying to be careful, prevention? Try and use a mask, and what are you hearing over there?
Yeah, so pretty much in Singapore, they've gone to a code orange, which is pretty much one below stay indoors sort of thing.
Right.
But at every place you go to, pretty much, they've got people out the front with thermometers taking your temperature. Most places give you a sticker to say that, yes, you've been tested and you're okay to be in the facility. And that's in every club, restaurant, bar, golf club, wherever you go pretty much in Singapore. They've got thermal scanners or people using thermometers to check to make sure you're all good to hopefully control it and stop the spread.
Yeah, that's great. And the same thing for when I come home as well. When I went to the Shanghai airport, they told me they were telling people to wear a mask, put on a mask, and the temperature as well. And obviously, when I got to Australia as well, I was the first person off the flight from Australia, and they took me straight to two doctors, and they asked me all these questions and sort of got me up to date with where they are here in Australia. Obviously, luckily enough, I had no symptoms, and they allowed me to continue. But my sister works in childcare, so I wasn't allowed to see her for 2 weeks. Bit of quarantine, but doing it the safe and proper way. So let's hopefully it goes away, because it's affecting not only businesses over there, but sporting events. I've got tickets for Green Day in Hong Kong in March, and I don't think that's going to happen either. So,
No.
Yeah. So
Olympics is the big one. If that gets cancelled, it could be the first ever Olympics that's played with no spectators. But who knows?
Yeah. Wow. Well, I was in Vietnam when they had the bird flu, and that was pretty scary as well. But this has just overtaken all of them. So let's hope this goes away very, very soon. So let's go back. Let's talk about your family. You seem like you have a very, very lots of sporting background. Tell us about your parents. Were your parents first grade? Did they play sport?
Yeah. So I'll be honest. I come from a tiny bit of a strange family in a way. So yeah, my mum's quite young. I'm 21 and my mum's 40. So that's a different thing that I have in compared to most of my friends. But yeah, so bit of a strange story. I haven't seen my dad in quite a long time. I think I've only seen him about once in the last 10 or 12 years. They obviously split up when we're younger, but I have an extremely close relationship with my mum and my sister. So when I'm in Australia, I still live at home, and mum does the washing and stuff like that. So I'm very lucky. But yeah, so my mum and dad, they're both into sport. Also my nan. My nan's the big footballer. She's actually passed away now, but she was a big Broncos and unfortunately a Maroons supporter. So I didn't get to see the Blues win too many times when she was here. But if she was still here, I'd definitely be giving her some phone calls after the last 2 years.
She must have been their good luck charm, because they had a huge run there, like 7. What was it? What was the record?
Was it 9?
8 or 9 years?
Yeah, I can't remember. That was just amazing, that team though. Like I look back now and you think, I was pretty lucky to see like Thurston and Slater and Inglis, and we can still see Smith all at the same time. It's pretty unreal. Yeah,
I can remember going up to Queensland a couple of times and wearing a New South Wales jersey, and there were some very, very tough times there.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Because I was like very young when I went to Suncorp, and they still boo you. They don't care if you're 10 years old. Yeah,
but the good thing about it, I noticed, was that banter and ripping each other off. But at the end of the day, it's just a bit of fun, and it's such a good vibe and atmosphere, like the whole Caxton Street and the Caxton pub. It's such a good atmosphere up there. I recommend anybody to go up there and experience that. So yeah, tell us a bit more about your mother. Did your mother play sport, or was she into?
Yeah, so my mum, I'm pretty sure, to be honest, we don't talk about it much, but I know she played netball and was a good swimmer into Nippers and the surf club.
Okay.
But pretty much she now is working childcare. So since she had me, 1998, she's been doing family daycare. So we have 5 kids under 5 in my house every day. So that's an interesting one. But it's been awesome because when I come home, you see them all run up to me and they're all excited. But yeah, it's been really cool. So she does that. And then my sister, she's just graduated high school last year and tomorrow will be her first day at university. So
Oh wow, congratulations.
Give her a call and wish her good luck.
And will she do the same thing as you? Will she come to the Newcastle University, or will she do something in the Central Coast?
Yeah, she's going to the Newcastle University. She wants to become a teacher. She's sort of in that phase where she's not exactly sure what she wants to do. But obviously we've been around kids our whole life, and she's really good with kids and does dancing, teaching, and coaches touch football teams with me. So she's about to start a teaching degree tomorrow.
Oh, that's great. Talk about that. Why are the people from the Central Coast, even my cousins, coming to Newcastle University? Why isn't there a decent university at the Central Coast? Are they developing one, or is it just a better opportunity for Newcastle?
Yeah, well, actually, so it's quite lucky. We have a Central Coast campus. So it's in Arimba, and it comes under the Newcastle University. So it's just a different campus. So for Central Coast students, it's a lot closer to home. Unfortunately, I've still got to drive the 1 hour trip up to Newcastle. But for a lot of the courses, like accounting and teaching and sports science, you can do it on the Central Coast, which is why it's a popular location for students on the Central Coast to study there.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You're from Ettalong Beach, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, Ettalong Yamina, we call it the peninsula. So Woy Woy is probably the one that people know the most because of the name.
Okay, so tell me about that, because for international listeners, they probably don't know too much about the Central Coast area. It's a beautiful part of the world. If you want to take a holiday, if you're going to Sydney or Newcastle, you definitely need to stop into the Central Coast. So tell us a bit about the Central Coast and where you grew up.
Yeah, I've grown up there my whole life. So the Central Coast to me is the best place in the world. It's really good as a young person because I can go to Sydney for work and the hustle and bustle of the city life, but then just an hour's drive away, you're in an area where you know the local shop owners. You can stop and say hello to everyone. You're part of a community and everyone knows everyone, it's a good thing, but also can be a bad thing, I suppose. But yeah, the Central Coast, look, the beaches, you've pretty much got your own Bondi Beach because there's no one else on the beach. And that's the way I put it.
Right.
It's the best of both worlds.
So tell me about that. Like, you have the Central Coast Mariners. Why don't they have a Central Coast NRL team? Do you think that they'll have one in the future? I mean, they've had that stadium there for a long time now. It's great for the locals. Do you think that there should be an NRL team there eventually?
Look, I would love there to be. However, I don't see it happening. I think with the amount of juniors coming through, rugby league sort of is dying. Although people don't want to admit it, I don't think that it will be viable. The stadium is unreal. It's definitely underutilized. We need to get more games there. Every time there is a game, it's packed out. So last year we had the Souths versus Melbourne, and my friend actually made his debut, Nico Hines. So he's in chance with getting a bench spot this year with the Storm, and any injuries to Pappenhausen or Hughes, he'll be slotting in there. It was packed stadium, and then you had the Sharks and Roosters a few years ago was packed. So definitely an underutilized stadium, and hopefully they can get more games there.
And they've got a trial game there next Saturday. Actually, they've got the Knights playing the Roosters. So this is the last trial game before the start of the season. So I think that it's almost sold out, to be fair. So I can see that, like, taking the games there. I know Manly take it there, and the Roosters take it there, and the Knights will play there as well. Let's just see. I mean, they're trying to expand out, like, to other sort of states, I think. Maybe another team in Brisbane, maybe Western Australia. They're having the State of Origin in South Australia this year. So good for expansion, but let's just see how it goes. Actually, are you a football fan?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a sports nerd. That's why I class myself. I watch every sport from from darts to curling to snooker.
Oh, wow. So tell us about the Mariners then. I've come back. A bit of a rivalry between myself and my cousins in the Central Coast. We're always sort of, at Christmas or at Easter, we're always talking about, who's ahead. And I found out that the Jets are coming last and Central Coast are coming second last. Is that right?
That sounds about right. To be honest, in the last few years, I haven't watched much of the Mariners because it's not really that interesting or good to watch as a Mariners supporter. But it's just simply because of financial reasons. Like you look at the Socceroos team, and nearly all of them have played for the Mariners, but we just simply can't keep the good players there. They then end up going to Sydney FC or Melbourne City or move overseas. Like Matt Ryan, Mile Jnr, Tommy Rogic, Mustafa Amini, all of these players have played for the Mariners, but we just can't keep the talent there.
Well, speaking of talent, didn't they sign Usain Bolt?
Yeah, we sure did. And that actually, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I'd say that was the biggest thing the Mariners, ever happened to the Mariners, because they had 18,000 people at a match at Central Coast Stadium against a Central Coast Premier League 11 side just to watch Usain Bolt, and it was raining.
Wow.
My friend's dad, he is a groundskeeper at their training ground, and he said the highlight of his life was when Usain Bolt finally called him by his first name, Jared.
Wow, that's great. Was he even a good soccer player? Obviously, he had some talent there if the Mariners signed him, or was it a bit of a publicity stunt?
Oh, I think it was a bit of a gimmick, to be honest. Like, he did score 2 goals, and
did he?
Good boot on him, but I think it's a bit different agility speed rather than straight speed.
Yes, agreed. Then you went to, and I've noticed online that you played a bit of touch football as well. Are you still involved in touch football?
Yeah, touch football was a big part of my childhood, definitely. So I'm still involved with the Peninsula Touch Football Club. So I coach some junior teams. Unfortunately, not this year because I'm away. I like to give back because they've done a lot for me. So getting out there, helping the kids and teaching them everything I know. And then, I play still. We actually won the state cup last year, which is held in Port Macquarie, which was really good in my final year of under-20s.
All right.
But it's sort of more now, it's more just a fun thing rather than playing representative and Hunter and New South Wales region. It's more of just to get out with my mates on a Wednesday night and have a throw around at the footy.
And is this something you want to take over there? I know you've got lots of experience here with touch football, maybe not as popular in Asia. Is that something that you would like to do over there?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I attended in China. I went and played touch football a few times, which was great to see people getting exposure to the game and even just getting a footy in hand. A lot of them sort of from a rugby union background or some had never played with a rugby ball as such. Singapore, I know they've got, they attended the World Cup last year in Malaysia. And I think
that's great.
Touch football is a growing sport because it removes the contact that rugby league or rugby union or so on has.
Yes.
So it allows older people to play, it allows younger people to play. And it's great for fitness because you're constantly running, which is a problem for me now because I'm not as fit as what I used to be.
That's right. And I think it's good for the kids. I mean, some of the kids are sort of going towards the computers and PlayStation and not sort of having like physical fitness as a part of their lifestyle. The more promotion, the better. And I think sometimes the kids and the parents are a little scared, like to play rugby league, contact sport, with all the injuries that they have. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that's, another good reason for touch football?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like, someone explained this example to me, and I'll quickly run through it as to why the NRL participation is down and why kids aren't playing it. So he said to me, he was like, if you put it on a spectrum, at one end, you've got golf and tennis and the sort of non-contact sports. And then at the other end, you've got stuff like martial arts, the UFC. So the UFC, as we know, is like the fastest growing sporting industry. So I think he said to me from 2001, it was a $2 million industry to now it's a $1 billion industry.
Wow.
And which is insane. And he was saying that, so the NRL used to be, back when we had the shoulder charge and the biff and so on, it was sort of to the top end of this spectrum or scale. But then because of all the rules and the changes they're implementing, it's sort of coming back to the middle.
Yeah.
But what that does, it's not good for fans like myself that like the rough and buff sort of side of football. But then there's people like my auntie as such that still thinks the game is too much contact, too dangerous. So you're actually not pleasing anyone. You're not pleasing the mums we're trying to please. So they're not getting their kids involved. They're still going to soccer or tennis. But then you're annoying the true blue rugby fans that want to see the big hits and the sort of competitiveness like people like Michael Ennis and Dylan Nupper provide.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you've seen the Biffo, if you like the whole bring back the Biff, Reg Reagan, he always said, play hard but play fair. And having the occasional, punch, it shows that they're competitive and they want to win. I see with some of the modern day players, it's like, okay, whatever. I saw that in some of the Knights teams before. They're just turning up to play, and it's like, But before it was like, man, I'm going out there, I want to smash them, and I want to win. So
I think you're exactly right. And you see them when the Bulldogs, they've just lost by 40, and they're there hugging the other team and smiling, and a fan, you're going home with your head down. So
exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah, you're seeing lots of that in the modern game, where at the end of the game they're hugging each other and they're smiling and they're laughing, which is great. But for a passionate fan, and then there's all that sort of like betting involved as well. Like, so anyway, it can cause some major issues with the rugby league. But I'm going to still. Hopefully, I'll be staying here a bit longer in Australia so I can see some more games. All right, so speaking of NRL, your favourite team is
a bit unfortunate to say, but I go for the Bulldogs. Have ever since 2004. I think I love Willie Mason's afro so much.
Oh, Big Willie.
Yeah, that's it. So to my family's despair, I changed from Souths to the Bulldogs and have been with them ever since. So.
And how do you think they will go this year? Looking at their squad, they've had some tough times the last couple of seasons. Is it upwards for this year, do you think?
Well, I can't really go backwards, but I think, personally, I don't think we're in with a chance. It's sort of a rebuilding phase, giving people experience. And I think we're struggling with getting players for the right price. We missed out on the Trebojevic brothers and a few others. We're paying Kieran Foran a lot of money and he's always injured. So hopefully our new additions like Dean Britt and Joe Stimson can make an influence. And unfortunately last night in the All-Stars match, we had a few injuries. So Chris Smith with the ACL and then Darren back. So I don't think Dean Pay would have been a happy man last night, like most Bulldogs fans.
Now with Kieran Foran, the Bulldogs spent a ton of money on Foran. Is he ready for this season? And if not, then what are they going to do with the salary cap, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't think he is ready. I'm actually friends with Jack Cogger. He's a uni mate of mine, so I've talked to him a little bit about it, and he's obviously in contention for one of the positions. But I think, we just got to do our best, give people a shot, and hopefully improve. And I think our defence is solid enough to win us a few games. So if we can get our attack going, let's hope we can be a smoky this year.
Yeah, awesome. And from what I saw last year, they showed some really good signs, like the back sort of quarter of the season. It's all good for the fans, I think. I think they'll be a smoky as well. So good luck to them.
Yeah,
so, a Bachelor, Business and Commerce.
Yes, I'm still doing that. I'm in my final year, so I've got 2 subjects left, and then I'll be done that. So it was great. I also got to study in China as well, which was an awesome experience.
So what was that like, having to drive? You said that you're still living at the Central Coast. It must be very difficult to do that, be driving to Newcastle to do your studies.
It's actually, I sort of look back on what I did when I left school and sort of think I was a bit crazy. So I did an internship when I left school with Jack Newton Junior Golf. So they're a golfing organisation that looks after juniors in New South Wales. So
and for the listeners, Jack, can you just tell them about Jack Newton as well?
Yes, alrighty. So Jack Newton, he's from actually Newcastle, and he was a famous golfer, come second at the Masters, and unfortunately, in an accident, he lost his arm in a helicopter accident. So he obviously couldn't play professionally anymore. He still gets out there and he's pretty good actually with the one arm, but he focused on juniors and trying to promote the game. He's done a great job. The Jack and Junior Golf program has been awesome. It gives people the opportunity to get out, play different courses. And actually, whilst we're speaking, Stephanie Kiriakou, who's one of the prodigies from the Jack and Junior Golf Foundation, she's got a 10-stroke lead in the Australian Ladies Classic to hopefully...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think she's 18 years old, and if she wins, which I hope she does, she'll get a European Tour card and turn professional tomorrow, I would say.
Oh, that's fantastic news. Wow,
So, yeah.
That's great.
They're based in Arncliffe, near the airport in Sydney. So what I do, my typical day would be get up at 4, leave at 4:15. I go to work till about 1. Then I drive back 2.5 hours to university in Newcastle, study, then drive back to Pizza Hut, work at Pizza Hut as a manager to get money to then pay for petrol to go again the next day. So
wow.
It was a busy time. I
was going to bring that up also. I've got some conflict in here. It says Eagle Boys Pizza, and then also it says Pizza Hut.
Yeah, so actually that's a funny one. So I started off at Eagle Boys when I was 14. So my friend's brother gave me the job there. Yes. And then it actually, they sort of didn't go bankrupt, but sort of went into liquidation. So Pizza Hut bought out pretty much Eagle Boys. So we changed from within 3 days, we went from Eagle Boys to Pizza Hut. So nice. I ended up working at both. And I actually have a few friends that work at Domino's. So we've got a little bit of a rivalry there. So
do you think that gave you that sort of work ethic, working for a place like Pizza Hut?
Most definitely. I think I love talking to people. So for me, fast food is really cool. And I think that I was a manager at quite a young age. So I had to learn how to deal with people and problems and customers, which can be a challenge at sometimes. But I definitely think fast food is something that can teach you work ethic and the importance of doing things fast and efficiently. I still, to this day, use things that I learned at Pizza Hut in my new jobs.
Do you have a story about a bad experience at Pizza Hut?
I've got a funny one, actually. So, long story short, we had an order late at night, and they never come to pick it up. So it's on top of the oven. It was a meat lover's pizza. And I was there with 2 of my mates, and they said to me, "Jack, do you reckon we can eat that pizza?" Because we locked up and everything. And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. Just eat it." So we're at the back. We're having something to eat. And then I hear this knock, knock, knock. Now, all the doors are locked, and you can't really hear a knock. And I look up, and there's a guy that's moved the auto bin. He stood on top of that, and he's looking out up on top of the window. And he looks in, and he goes, "Hey, you're eating my pizza." So we sort of laughed, opened up the door, and he took half his pizza home, and he was happy. I think he'd had a big night. So, but no, it was pretty funny because he just looks in and we're there scoffing our faces, eating his pizza. The
doing any sort of takeaway late at night, I don't know what money they're on, but they deserve gold medals. The people that they have to deal with, the people that are drunk, coming for a very, very late feed, that's just crazy.
Yeah, that's
so. So then you got the Colombo scholarship with the Australian government. This is a huge achievement. Are you the first? Did I read that you were the first person?
One of the first people from the Central Coast to get it. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that get it, but pretty much it's a great initiative, and I would highly recommend anyone that's wanting to do something like this to definitely look into it. So I'll give you a background of what it is. It's a government scholarship that they provide to young Australians, and it's in the attempt to sort of bring Australia closer to the Asia-Pacific region. Obviously, there's a lot of Asians in Australia. We're doing a lot of business with Asian countries. So they provide you with the ability to go overseas and work, study, and learn a language. So I was in Shanghai when I met you actually studying how to speak Mandarin, which is really interesting and cool for a boy that's never learned a language before. Never speaks English very well. So
how is your Mandarin going, by the way?
我会说一点中文. So I just said I can only speak a little bit of Chinese.
Yes.
But I can order food and play sport with doing it, so that's the important part.
Hey, you get the priorities right. I'm the same. I've been there for 3.5 years, and I only know the survival Chinese. You know, Pijiu, Baijiu, Hangzhou.
That's it. Shanghai, Xiaolong Bao, Jing Fan. Correct.
Yes. So sorry. Continue.
Yeah, so pretty much that's what it does. So I was very lucky. It's a long process. It goes on your university marks first of all, and then what you do in the community and the leadership that you've shown. So I was very lucky that I was school captain in my final year at school, and have done some things at Anzac Day service and coached sporting teams. And long story short, you have a few interviews, and then I got flown down to Parliament House in Canberra, and you've got an interview there in front of 6 people, which as a 19-year-old is pretty confronting and pretty nerve-wracking. There's a little typewriter in the corner that's writing everything you say.
How did you prepare for that? Something like that? That's just like insane.
It's knowing why you want to do it, I think,
Yes.
and knowing what benefits this will give you and how you can help that improve Australia, really. And an aspect I was quite lucky because a lot of the scholars are highly academic, whereas I do study a lot, but I love sport and so on. I think if I threw a tennis ball to a lot of these scholars, they wouldn't be able to catch it. I went the sporting route. So I wanted to see realistically how China, we obviously see a lot of videos and things that we think happen in China in regards to the way they treat their athletes and gymnasts and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go over there and actually firsthand experience how junior sport works. How are they training their children so that they achieve these results at the Olympics that they are? Like, they're winning medals in swimming when typically Chinese people aren't good swimmers. And I was just wondering what they do to improve, how they get kids active, so that hopefully we can do that in Australia. Because I feel that, as you said previously, a lot of kids aren't getting out and playing sport. I know that we were always out playing cricket on the road.
Yeah, of course.
With the auto bins or down the oval, and as soon as the street lights come on, you've got to go home. But you don't see that anymore. And I think our larrikin nature when it comes to sport definitely worked in the past. But with how professional it's becoming, people have more access to sports. I think Australia, we sort of have to look at it and think, well, how can we improve? How can we achieve? I know that at the Rio Olympics, I think there was like a figure where we paid $11,400,000 something just for one medal at the Olympics, which is a big spend sort of thing. So hopefully we can improve and get kids active and get them out there playing sport, which will then result in more international sporting success.
Yeah. And you talked about that. So tell me your first impressions before you went to China, an impression of China now that you've been there for a while.
Yeah, well, first of all, when I went to China, I couldn't use chopsticks. I couldn't say any word. Like, I literally was very raw, didn't know anything. And obviously you see in the media the pollution in the air and the busyness and all that type of thing. But I thoroughly enjoyed China, and I'd go back and live there.
Yes.
I got the bug. I think it's great to be able to meet different people, to experience a different culture. Everything's so efficient. You get delivery in 2 minutes. There's cheap food. Like, it doesn't get better. I thoroughly enjoyed China, and I definitely go back. And I think it's a great thing. Even if I never wanted to go to China as such when I was younger. It was always Europe or America. But I think after being there, you can get a real insight into the way that Chinese people live. And hopefully that will help me when I move back to Australia in the future, sort of remove the divide in sport, because there still is that divide where, in particular, Asian nations, parents and players stay together.
Yes.
And hopefully by giving more Australians an understanding of why they do things, why they act like the way they do, it gives us the ability to make it easier for them in Australia and hopefully bring everyone closer together.
I think this is just a great initiative. I really do, because I did this without this sort of sporting scholarship. I got my license as an English teacher, went over there, and my first job was it was an online company, but because I was living there, they'd get there one time, they'd get an online class, and then I would actually go and visit the schools. So for nearly 2 years, I would travel all over China, and not just the big cities. It was the rural cities. And my mind was just blown away. Just the experience that I had to go to all these different parts of China and to taste all their food, to see how they live. Like it was just an amazing experience. So I'm a bit like yourself, where I had all these sort of preconceived ideas of what China was going to be like. I thought it was going to be more traditional. I thought it was going to be more strict. But you go over there, and especially to a place like Shanghai, it's just a modern city. It's very multicultural. Like you said, people complain that, it's polluted. Well, of course, there's 25 million people, the same population of Australia. Of course, it's going to be polluted. People are going to want to be warm, and they're going to use a lot of electricity and power. Yeah, I have a totally different look on it, and I can see that from an outside now and an insider. I've been there for 3.5 years, so I can definitely see why what you're doing now is such a great initiative. And I really do hope that more Australian people go over there and experience what we're both done.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And I'm sort of in Singapore now, which is the best of both worlds. I think it's very similar to Australia. It's got similar things to China, and it's just in the middle. And all Asian countries are different. So I've definitely got a new appreciation for Asia and Asian countries.
Yeah, definitely. So your main sport is golf, I would assume?
To be honest, I don't really have a main sport. Look, rugby league's my favourite, that's for sure. But
okay.
Yeah, golf, touch football, and tennis are probably the three big ones. But I'm actually interning at the moment with the Royal and Ancient. So they pretty much, it's pretty much a dream come true. Like, I've always wanted to do something like this. And for it to happen when I'm 21, I'm extremely grateful and thankful to everyone that's helped me get here.
So you told me at the bar that you have had experiences with Justin Rose as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so just recently, pretty much the first day on the job was the SMBC Singapore Open. So I was actually, I'm interning with the RNA, but they let me work with Lagadier Sports. So Lagadier Sports is a promoter, sort of like IMG, that does big sporting and fashion events and so on. And I'm not rich by any means. I haven't had the chance to be in VIP sections or sort of behind the ropes. I'm usually the keen spectator trying to get the signature.
Yes.
And anyway, so I was doing things like holding the claret jug. I was shuttling the professionals, Justin Rose, Henrik Stenson, to and from the tee, talking to them about the fires in Australia. And these blokes I've looked up to, like, they're gold medalists and open champions. And it was pretty surreal to sort of sit there, and I was kicking myself thinking, is this actually happening? I didn't know whether I should ask for a selfie because it's my first day on the job, or do I just act professional and come on, you can get a photo later? But yeah, it's been really cool.
So with that, do you think that you've gotten better at that? Like, instead of being like the fanboy, which I'm sure you will, and I will be forever, you see like a professional athlete that you've watched all your life, and you finally get to meet them. But do you think that that's changed now that you're in that sort of role now yourself, that it's comfortable, or you still got the fanboy?
No, still a fanboy, that's for sure. And I know if it was Roger Federer, I'd be a definite fanboy.
Oh, right.
But yeah, no, still a fanboy. And I just sort of, even just walking into the suites and getting free coffee and cake, that excites me. So definitely enjoying the perks of being able to meet people of such stature.
So speaking of that, who are the people that you've sort of met along your way in your travels? You talk about Justin Rose, but you said that you've also in rugby league as well. Tell us a couple of people that you know in the rugby league, NRL.
Yeah, well, I've been really lucky. So obviously I played a lot of sport when I was younger. So I'm good friends with Nico Hines, Scott Drinkwater, who was a player of the Nines tournament last week.
How do you think he'll go this year? Because such a talented player, he left the Storm to go to the Cowboys. Where does he fit now that Valentine Holmes is back from the NFL?
Yeah, I think he will get the first crack at the job next to Michael Morgan, especially after the Nines performance. And when we were younger, he did play in the halves our whole junior career sort of thing. So
okay.
He moved to fullback later on in the piece. But he's just so naturally talented. I know that when we played touch football together, pretty much he'd come on in attack and then I'd go on for defence, and we'd just rotate because he'd just set up all the tries and I'd do the hard work.
Right.
But I wasn't complaining because he did set up a lot of tries. So
we'll just go off on a tangent there. Sorry, with Drinkwater. I actually have him in my Supercoach team, so let's just hope he gets a few try assists.
Yeah, I think he will. So, well, actually, yeah. So Bradman Best, I also have helped him with touch football, and he went to my school. So he's injured at the moment, out for a few weeks. But I've been very lucky. As I said, Jack Cogger's a friend of mine from university. So it's interesting because it's a lot of my friends now. You're watching them on TV and you're seeing them get interviewed, and people are asking for photos when we're out, and it's quite strange, but it's pretty cool. I've become a personal photographer half the time, I think.
With Jack Cogger, he was tated to take over in the halves for the Newcastle Knights. Gets his opportunity at the Bulldogs now. Bulldogs?
Yeah, he's at the Bulldogs now, yeah.
So do you think they'll give him another chance now, especially with Foran being injured again, as far as I know? Do you think another season, this time it's his time to step up?
Yeah, I think he will. We've also got the Wakeham boy as well, the other young guy that's pushing for a spot, and Lachlan Lewis. So, yeah, I think he will. I hope he does. He's a really, really nice guy and a good player, and he'll only get better with time. So hopefully he does.
And Bradman Best, they're rating him as to be, the next one of the best superstars for the Knights. The one sort of thing that I've sort of done a bit of research on him is that he may be a little bit injury prone. You could probably talk a little bit more about that. You know him better than me.
Yeah, definitely injury prone. I think he was one of the kids where I'm a little bit older than him, but he was that monster when we were younger. So I think his body grew too fast. He was just a big boy right from a young age. But yeah, he has had a lot of injury problems, but he comes back from them like nothing's happened. Like he's had a lot of leg problems and shoulder, and he's just as fast as what he ever has been. So he's definitely, if he gets on the field fit and healthy, he'll be a great player in the future, that's for sure.
Hopefully he recovers from this injury and gets back on the team, because he's another one that I want in my Supercoach team. So let's talk about Supercoach. So was it your first year last year in the Supercoach?
Second year. So I've got a friend from work, and he got me into it. I knew I'd get addicted, so I got addicted the first year, and then last year was my second year, and I had a really good year. It takes up a lot of time, and I probably should have focused more on my study, but
it's so addictive, but Jack.
It is. I know that. I think it's great for the game, because I wouldn't be watching as much NRL as I do because of Supercoach. And I'm sitting there and you're going, I'm cheering for the Titans players and watching the Raiders, and it's crazy. But I love it. And it's really cool to verse your mates and have bragging rights.
That's right. It's definitely a good bragging rights thing. And tell me, I was speaking to Wilfred last month, Wilfred Z, and he was saying that I was telling him that I read some articles last year that Phil Gould's come out and said that he doesn't think that Supercoach is a good thing for the sport. It's sort of tainting it.
I've heard that. I don't understand where he's coming from. I haven't read the article, but to me, it's complete opposite. I think it's getting people involved and watching rugby league or other sports that do it that wouldn't normally be watching it. And I know for the fact that I'm watching that 12 p.m. or 3 o'clock game on a Saturday between the Warriors and the Titans simply because of Supercoach.
Yes.
And I think it's great for the game, me personally. And you see how much it's done for the NFL.
Yeah, definitely.
And it just gives you more of an insight. And I think that with rugby league and so on, because of how good technology is these days, it's hard to get to the games because it's so good. So by having another thing to concentrate on and look at when you're watching from home, it's just adds another aspect of enjoyment to it.
Yes. And you were saying that you were in the top 200?
Yeah, I went really well last year. I can't remember what I ended, but I was definitely top 200, 100 something. I got very lucky with some good captain choices and so on, it was a good year.
Wow. And you're all ready for this season as well? Or, with your busy work schedule, how do you sort of plan to fit in Supercoach as well? Yeah,
haven't looked too much at the moment, but definitely a lot of the groups I'm in, they're going buzzing off all day. But I think I'm going to try and go for the 50K this year. I've had my top 200 finish. So I think I'm going to go for a few pods, point of differences. And hopefully I'm going for number one. Because last year I was just going for top 1,000, but I want to win the 50K. So you've got to take some risks.
Now with Supercoach, do you play with your heart or do you play with your brain?
I play with my brain, most definitely.
So can't no Bulldogs players?
Well, at the moment, I don't think there'll be any Bulldogs players. I always like the look of Aiden Tolman just because he just runs up and down and makes tackles. But depending on minutes, he'd probably be the only Bulldogs player, or Corey Harawira-Naira, just because of how many offloads he has. He could be a good buy.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So for the future, you had plans for the Tokyo Olympics. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in that as well. Even though the current, is that been officially cancelled or is it still going ahead as normal?
Yeah, still going ahead as normal. I think as of now, and I know Japan will be putting everything in place to sort of have the Olympics go ahead. But I was really lucky. I've sort of realised knowing a lot of people and meeting a lot of people can definitely help you. So I actually had a teacher in school. She wasn't actually my teacher, but she was at my school. And she was a Paralympian. She's won a lot of gold medals for Australia in women's wheelchair basketball and sailing. And I got in contact with her, and then she knew someone and went from there. And then I attended a World Sports Leaders Summit in Shanghai when I was there, and I ended up getting to touch the FIFA World Cup, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
Touched it before Ronaldo and Messi, which is my claim to fame. And then I met a guy named Tim from the Paralympics Committee in Australia that actually lives on the Central Coast, so he helped me out a lot as well. So, yeah, it's been really cool, but unfortunately because of the coronavirus and other things, I won't get the chance to go, but hopefully in the future.
Like keeping on this, does this involve the Paralympics? Are you involved with that, or are you just in the normal Olympics? Will you be involved in?
Well, I was going to be involved in both, but now obviously not either. So I'm just trying to take as many experiences as I can and do as many things whilst I'm young to hopefully help me in my future career.
Right. So with being in China, I've got a ton of stories and they'll eventually come out on all these podcasts. But do you have a story that you've had experience with food or the language, or you've been stuck in a certain situation?
I've actually got it's a really cool one, and a lot of people are jealous. So long story short, it was one of those.
No, long story.
Okay. So I was in Hong Kong. Now, Unfortunately, when I got there, it was the day they banned the face mask, which caused a lot of riots and so on. But what happened was, we're in a lift, and I just get talking to this Chinese guy next to me. And I sort of asked him, I was there with a Spaniard named Albert and a Belgian named PJ, two friends I met on exchange. And I asked them, I said, "Look, hi, it's our first night in Hong Kong. Do you recommend any clubs?" And he looks at his friends, and he's like, "Well, why don't you just come with us?" So being 20 and 21-year-old blokes, we sort of look at each other and go, "Oh, why not?" So we end up heading out with these guys in Hong Kong, and we get to a rooftop bar, and all these drinks start coming out, and it's roped off, and then we find out that he's quite a wealthy man involved in the music industry. And long story short, the next day, we're in Macau partying with Nelly. We're seeing Steve Aoki, Martin Garrix, all in private booths as 20-year-olds. And it's a bit bad to say, but I ended up wearing the same clothes for 3 days in Macau because we were going for 1 day, and we ended up being there for 3. So it was an awesome experience, and so it was. My friends were very jealous when I was sending them the videos on Instagram next to Steve Aoki and getting photos with Nelly and other people.
Wow, that is amazing. So you got to be in the right place at the right time, though, Jack.
Yeah. Exactly.
Didn't ask the question?
Friend, because if he didn't do the pee in the toilet a minute earlier, we would have been in a different lift.
Yeah, right. And what did you think of Macau? Tell me about that. I know you had 3 days there, but bit of a bender. But what did you think of Macau?
I definitely had an unrealistic experience in Macau. I think that, me personally, if you don't have a lot of money, Macau probably isn't worth the visit, sort of thing, because it is heavily based on the casinos and the party sort of lifestyle. So, yeah, if you have money, I think it'd be really enjoyable, sort of probably like Vegas. I've never been, but I'm assuming with the more money, the funner you have, funner time you have. Yeah. But Hong Kong, if it's all safe, definitely a great place to visit. It's got a really cool vibe and really good place.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've been to Hong Kong, you've been to Macau, you've been to China. So where else have you been since you've been in Asia?
Thailand. So the last 2 weeks I've been in Thailand and Malaysia. Mm-hmm. And then potentially heading to, it's a bit of an odd one, but Bangladesh in 2 months' time. I never thought I'd say I'd go there.
Interesting. Is that for business or is that like just a holiday?
Yeah, that's part of my internship. They're going to send me there for a golfing tournament and rules seminar. So is that popular there? I mean, I know that they've got an international cricket team there, but is golf popular there? I actually don't know, to be honest. I don't think it is, from what I can tell. But hopefully, that's a part of what the RNA do. They're trying to grow the game in around the world and especially in Asia. So if we can get in there and give people resources and access and knowledge about the game, hopefully we can see an expansion. So that the Bangladesh just won the under-19s Cricket World Cup. So
there you go.
Definitely talented people in the country.
And speaking of that, are you a cricket fan as well?
Love all sport. Definitely a cricket fan. Yes. I love to sit there and watch the Test match.
Yeah, so I didn't see much of the cricket, obviously being in China. So I'm just seeing replays now on Fox at home. They absolutely smashed New Zealand.
That was impressive. It was unreal. We're sort of back to the good old days when I was younger, because if David Warner gets out, it's okay because Labuschagne comes in. And then if he gets out, it's okay because Smith comes in. And then it just goes down the line. And if our batters are performing, our bowlers are they're first class. They're the best in the world. So
when they're fit, it's pretty hard to...
Even if they're not, if someone like Hazelwood gets injured, you just bring in James Pattinson. So
yes.
It's a good problem to have.
And speaking of that, did you have like a favourite player growing up, like with rugby league and with cricket?
My favourite sportsman is definitely Roger Federer. So he's the big one. He's my man crush. When it comes to cricket, I probably couldn't go past Ricky Ponting. He's my generation. So Ricky Ponting's the man. He had the games on PlayStation and so on. And then for rugby league, I'm a Billy Slater fan. Even though he's a Queenslander and plays for Melbourne, I really like Billy Slater.
Yeah, right. That's hard. Not too many players in fullback better than Billy Slater.
Change the game.
Yeah, and same with Federer as well. And he still continues to play very, very good. Like again, I haven't seen the tennis recently, but he won it in Australia. Was it 2 years?
Yeah, well, 2 years ago, he won 2 in a row. So he come back from injury and then he won the Australian Open 2 years in a row. And it's funny because he made the semi-finals of this year's Australian Open and lost to Novak Djokovic, and it's sort of a failure, which we've got to look at it like he's still making the semi-finals, 38 years old. Like, I think that's pretty impressive. It's definitely hard though for me to keep saying that he's the greatest of all time when Novak Djokovic and Nadal just keep winning.
Well, the thing is, like everybody talks about age, but he's such an athlete. Like age shouldn't be really a difference if he's still physically fit. Like 38 is still considered. Look at him; he's just playing people half his age and still being super competitive. So, just goes to show. And finally, we've got tennis. Do you think that there's like a saturation, like we were talking before with the rugby league? But what about cricket as well? I remember watching it. It was huge. It was like you play rugby league in the winter, and then cricket in the summer. The test matches and the one-dayers. You're so psyched. Who's going to come out and play Australia this year? The summer of cricket. Now it doesn't. I don't know if it just doesn't feel like it used to be. Do you have an opinion on that with cricket as well?
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. Like I know I'm only 21, and it wasn't long ago that I was playing backyard cricket or on the road with the auto bin, and the car comes and you move it off.
Yeah.
But we were always out there, and I think it's definitely that there's less people playing it. I think free-to-air TV has a big part in that. If you're not playing the lead-up games to these test matches, cricket's not in people's mind, and then it comes up to them all of a sudden and it's on. And yeah, I think that it's just people have so much access to different sports now, and people are so busy that sitting down and watching cricket for such a long time, or whatever sport it is, can become difficult. And I don't know if this is a reason, but I think a lot of players now are worried about the media and the perception that people perceive them in. So it's hard to really get to know these sportsmen because they're worried about making a mistake or saying something they're not allowed. You don't get the people, the larrikins, and really getting to know the players like we used to. At the end of the day, they're still everyday humans and everyday Australians. So it'd be good to sort of have them in more of a natural state rather than such robotic answers and always having to say what people want them to say.
Agreed. You know, you miss the warnies, you know, the people, you can't do that anymore. You do, like, everybody's got mobile phones where they can record something, you know, and then they're on the media and, you know, they'll misconceive what was said and then they'll print it. And, you know, it happened before, but in the sort of modern day of cricket and sport in general, it's got to that stage where, you can't do anything. You can't pick your nose without having someone take a photo and put it on Instagram or something like that. So hopefully in the future, like you said, with rugby league, I hope they can sort of pick up the good things like the supercoach and just, you know, whatever's working for them and grow it. And I think in the modern game with the 2020, I think that's, I mean, a lot of the traditionalists were, it's a hit and giggle. Look at it now, like that 2020 bash. Everybody, I know all my friends wanted to sit down and watch the final. Do you agree?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I'm one of those traditionalists. I love the test match and I love the 5-set tennis and so on. But I think you need these type of formats in sports to get people that aren't as big as sport fans as us getting involved and watching. And it's just a party atmosphere. That's what you want. It's an experience that people can remember. So I think the more interactive and enjoyable the experience is, the more people that are going to be involved.
Exactly. All right, wrap it up, Jack. One last question. So where does the future hold for Jack Steed?
Yeah, it's a tough one, to be honest. I don't know exactly what I want to do. All I know that is I definitely want to make my mum and sister proud. And I think that no matter what I do, I want to work my hardest at it and make my way to the top. I'm open to all different experiences. I want to continue to gain new experience and new knowledge, continue learning Mandarin. So hopefully that opens some avenues and doors. But preferably, I'd like to be in sport, in a management position, in a big global organisation. That's probably the end goal. But at the moment, it's just doing my best, meeting as many people and creating as many cool memories as I can whilst I'm young and see what happens. So
getting those contacts.
It's very important. That is true. I've noticed that.
And like I said, I met you in the bar in Shanghai. I mean, what are the odds of having two people that live like less than 100 kilometers away from each other in Shanghai? It's just a crazy world we live in. All right, Jack. Finally, are there anything that you want to promote? Any sort of websites or any upcoming events that you want to promote on the podcast?
No, not that I think of. Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks very much for having me on. It's been awesome. I haven't done something like this. It's been really cool to talk about interesting topics and what I've been doing. And yeah, other than that, just thank everyone that's helped me get to where I am and people like yourself that are giving me this opportunity and making my time in China and away from my family and friends much more enjoyable. So other than that, I look forward to the footy season kicking off and seeing what's from here.
All right, and good luck to your Bulldogs too, mate.
I think
I'm cheering my Knights as well. I think we're going to be sort of similar to the Bulldogs. I think we're roughies, but I like our chances. We'll see how we'll go.
Yeah, I think with Caleb Ponga and Mitchell Pearce,
we're always a chance.
I think the Knights are in for they're definitely a top 8 team this year, and with teams like the Storm and the Roosters losing a few players, I think they're going to sort of come back to the playing field a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Knights are in with a good chance if they get on a bit of momentum.
All right, Jack. Great to talk to you today, and come back on again anytime you want, mate.
Thanks heaps for having me, Craig, and I hope everyone enjoys the listen.
Yeah, no worries, Jack. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. See you, Craig.
Okay, bye-bye.